News with Gina.
The News with Gina Grad.
And quick production note, I'm sure that Mike and Rich Banks are on it, and I doubt the crazy Trump tweets will stop, but we may have to update the song again, our third update in so many years with possibly a third president.
I think we'll say some crazy Trump tweets in the near future.
I'm sure that can stay, but I'm sure Biden said enough insane stuff like he was running for Senate. So, Adam, remember the other day we talked about Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, and a lot of that stuff that is not getting mainstream coverage. Very, very interesting, and just a sort of a caveat to that story.
The good boyfriend or the bad boyfriend?
The bad boyfriend.
Yes, the bad boyfriend.
That's who we talked about.
Well, I'll tell you, we've kind of lost it in the sense that all the news focus, all we talk about is the cops or the judge with the no-knock warrant or Breonna Taylor or the DA or the grand jury. We really should carve out a little conversation for the piece of shit that was her drug-dealing boyfriend, murderous boyfriend, who sort of caused all of this. We wouldn't be here without him.
Right.
And you guys know, my whole thing is like, if that guy wasn't born, she'd be alive. And a lot of people do a lot of like, yeah, but the cops. And I'm like, that's true. But if
wouldn't have been there.
If that guy wasn't born, then she'd still be alive. And I'm a very kind of brass tacks with that shit. And I hate that our society has essentially shifted to the point where the murderous piece of shit drug addict or drug dealing boyfriend gets kind of a pass through media. Media's got no time for him, and we have all the time in the world for the cop and the judges who are in a way sucked into this thing and kind of became victims as well when you look at the real circumstances.
Yeah.
Well, that is absolutely how one of the cops feels. And so one of the Louisville officers involved in the raid that led to the death of Breonna Taylor is suing her boyfriend, the one that was with her at the time, for emotional distress, assault, and battery. Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly filed a civil suit against Kenneth Walker, who shot him in the leg during the raid. Walker explains that he opened fire in self-defense when he thought there was an intruder breaking into the apartment. Mattingly was wounded in the leg and claims in his civil suit that he suffered trauma, mental anguish, emotional distress. Walker was initially arrested, but later had all the charges dismissed as it was determined he was protected under Kentucky's Stand Your Ground law. Well, now the cop is going after him civilly.
It's weird when you get shot in the leg by a guy named Walker, number one. Also, when you get shot in the leg and you're doing the stand your ground, is also another irony of this case.
Right.
But now, as Mike August would say, I'm guessing that guy, the good boyfriend who shot him in the leg, is kind of an empty bag. I don't imagine they'd be living in that apartment complex if he was Daddy Warbucks. Right. And I'm not sure what this cop is doing by this.
Do you think it's optics because his life has been sort of ruined with, social media?
Yeah. I mean, the cops, imagine if you're that cop. You're just a cop. You know what I mean? Like you make, I don't know, $65,000 a year and you're a cop and you're going to work and they're like, hey, there's a warrant. You got to go there at 2 a.m. Like, okay. You just show up and the next thing you know, like LeBron James is explaining that you should be locked up and stuff like that. I mean, just life ruining shit, right? Like you just have the social media storm of what, and you're like, we banged on the door. We busted the door open. I got shot. I returned fire, and now LeBron James wants me electrocuted. Like how that is pretty life altering.
That's what when I heard this story before, I got into the chunk of it. That's what I figured this was about. But it's actually about, at least what he's suing for is the actual shooting. But I would imagine that there's a lot behind that. I would think
you would rather take a bullet to the thigh than have LeBron James turn on you. That's That's what my grandpappy used to say, right?
Wise words.
Yeah, it's still, I don't know. This seems solely symbolic. It doesn't seem like there's any way to get paid or anything. But yes, maybe there's, I don't know, maybe it's just that kind of thing where like when, your crazy ex-wife takes out a restraining order on you and you just take one out on her, like you just go, fuck it.
Countersue, yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned the other day that France is locking back down. Germany's locking back down, although I think schools are staying open. Disneyland, Paris, that's getting locked down. Now we have 2 more countries to add to the mix. Austria announced on Saturday a partial shutdown. Restaurants and bars will be closed for 4 weeks. Cultural stuff, sports, leisure activities. Residents have to stay home after 8 p.m., so another curfew. And Chancellor Sebastian Kurz says the restriction will apply from Tuesday until the end of November. And Boris Johnson getting on board as well for the UK. He announced also Saturday a new month-long lockdown for England after being warned that without tough action, a resurgent coronavirus outbreak will overwhelm the hospitals in weeks. And under their restriction, bars and restaurants can only offer takeout. Non-essential shops must close. People will only be able to leave home for a short list of reasons. But unlike the UK the first time, schools, universities, construction sites, and manufacturing businesses will stay open.
Seems like kids, young people are pretty fucking cool with this shit. Like, doesn't seem to. I was thinking about it. I was watching college football, and they're like the Clemson quarterbacks got it. And then I was watching Cam Newton and stuff. I was thinking about all the NFL guys and the college guys, like they got it, and then they took a week off essentially, and they just came back and played. Like, right. I mean, if you can play quarterback at the NFL level and have had the thing 11 days ago, it's not doing anything to young people.
Justin Turner didn't know he had it.
He didn't know he had it.
The World Series.
Now he's in trouble. We'll see. We'll see what happens. The pussy sports columnist for the LA Times is like, he marred the World Series. What a fucking pussy!
I wanted to bring this
when
up.
do sports guys turn into pussies? When do sports guys get politically correct? Like sports guys, when I was growing up, it was like Oscar Madison, like smoking a cigar,
chomping on a cigar,
smacking a waitress in the ass, having another highball. When did sports guys become politically correct fucking pussies? When did that fucking happen? And how fucking sad is that? Sorry.
You had mentioned something on the show the other day, and we didn't follow up with it, or I didn't. But I'm very curious because I wanted to bring it up so bad on the Conway show, but I didn't have anyone to attribute to because you kind of said it in passing. You had made a comment when we were talking about Justin Turner that they actually may have found out way earlier in the game and kind of sat on it. Do you have any recollection of saying that?
The scuttlebutt was that they found out in like the second inning, but he won out there, not like that 7th or 8th inning. That's the story I heard. Okay.
I wanted to look into that and mention it, but I thought, I don't have anyone to attribute it to. I'll skip it. But that's very interesting to me.
Right. But he'll be fine. Like all these, all the young, healthy, strong guys.
Well, that's the point. They knew that and they didn't want to lose him. So they waited as long as they possibly could.
If everyone on the Dodgers roster became positive to COVID-19, nothing would happen to anyone on the roster. Right. They'd all be fine. So fuck it. That's my point.
Yeah, good point. So a couple more little COVID stories of note. And it's so funny the way this stuff is presented. I mean, this is supposed to be a big travesty in Michigan. We should be so lucky in California. So diners in Michigan will be required to give their name and phone number to restaurants and bars starting Monday in an effort to contain a recent surge over there. And I imagine that's for contact tracing, so you can get a hold of anyone that's been in the establishment. The new rule was placed by Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and also includes limiting indoor gatherings without fixed seating, like restaurants, to just 50 people. And individual tables 50. To just 6 people at the table.
Oh,
can you imagine? I mean, you poor things. We haven't been inside of a restaurant in 8 months.
I'm dying to feel the fucking feel of red Naugahyde on my ass cheeks. My ass cheeks have never missed Naugahyde more. Yeah,
you can only sit 6 people at a table.
I was talking to Dr. Drew, who had to go to New York to do Teen Mom. And he had to go there in quarantine for like a week. And then they test everybody. Mm-hmm. And then everyone has to wear the whatever mask when they're in the building. And he was saying to me yesterday, everyone's been tested. Everyone's clean. Why do we have to wear the mask in the building? And I'm like, because people make rules like rules. And he's like, yeah, but it doesn't make sense. I'm like, that's the beauty of it. See, you're in charge when your rules don't make sense. That's essentially the parent going, because I said so.
Right.
That's when you're really large and in charge, when your shit doesn't make sense and you have to do it anyway.
Well, speaking of how you're in charge, our governor here, Governor Gavin Newsom, said Friday his children have returned to in-person learning under a phased-in approach, as many schools across the state remain shuttered. And by the way, when I say many schools across the state, his public school district is still not open, and they don't know when they're going to open it. That is you might have to help me, Brian. That's Sacramento County. Oh. And that has I thought it was farther up. That has a hybrid schedule that alternates remote and in-person education before it'll go full-time next month. But according to Politico, it's not naming the school, for privacy reasons and because they're kids. Sacramento County schools are allowed to open classrooms under Newsom's reopening system, but the county's large public school district, including San Juan Unified, which is where Newsom serves, that's his neighborhood, they're not allowed to open.
I talked to Sonny the other day, and I said, what's the schedule like this week or a couple days ago? And I was like, you got school this week or whatever? And he's like, they're doing Zoom, whatever. And he said, we don't have school on Friday. And I said, why not? What's Friday? And he's like, well, the teachers are using that day to grade papers. And I'm like, I think teachers fucking hate work but like getting paid. This is the most diabolical plan in the world. We just fucking keep getting paid. They're fucking mobbed up. They're big-time unions. They're in with the fucking governor. They're in with the fucking mayor. They're in with all these people. They're fucking cowards. They don't want to go back to work. They want to get paid, and there's no danger. There's no danger for the fucking kids. There isn't. This is insane. It's child abuse. My kids are fine, but what about the fucking inner city kids or the latchkey kids or the, mom's got to work all day at the supermarket kids? It's fucked up. What the fuck is going on? Open the fucking schools. They're fine. The kids are fucking fine. It doesn't do anything to them. We have schools open all over the world. Where's the fucking outbreak? Where's the data? Can we follow the fucking science? Remember, we're supposed to follow the science, right? Follow the science. Follow the science, you fucking bloviated jack-offs. Good, we'll follow the fucking science that the world is telling us. Now open the fucking schools. We just have to wait till after the election? That's how it works? It's fucking nuts.
Everything will magically open up next week.
Newsom's such a fucking hack. I can't believe he's in charge of this fucking place. Open the fucking schools. You're hurting the kids. Their chances of being harmed by coronavirus. And by the way, if you're a fucking teacher and you're fucking pussy and you don't want to fucking go in and do your job, then fucking stay home. Open the schools and you fucking stay home. The abuse, there's tons of fucking abuse going on now. These kids are getting fucked up. There's parts of their brain that are supposed to be developing now that aren't developing. Open the fucking schools. It's causing more trouble than it's saving. It's not hurting anybody. Anyone turn on the news and found out a fucking 9-year-old has died of COVID? Ever heard of it? Believe me, if it did happen, CNN would dedicate 7 days to it. Does anyone remember that story on CNN about the fucking 13-year-old who went to school and died? No?
No, I can't.
Well, then fucking open the schools. Who's working on this? Who are the experts? Who's your panel? Who's fucking in charge? It's fucking nuts. And the biggest problem are the fucking pussies who just lay around. They don't say shit about it. They're fucking scared. They're cowards. You people need to fucking speak up. It's driving me nuts. This whole fucking state is like, well, we voted for the retarded guy, so we can't really say anything. Go ahead and say something. Thank you.
Yeah, I have friends with school-age kids, and like it's they're verbalizing now how impossible it is and how much stress it's putting on their family. I can only imagine for everyone.
Yeah. All right, Gina, let's bring it home.
You
popped
got
a vein in my forehead.
Well, you know what? Let me just say this real quick.
Suburban.
Well, instead of this being a news story, I'll just give it as a piece of trivia because I think you'll like it, and especially Brian. An odds maker in England believes that the 2020 election is the most bet on event in history. With a staggering $260 million in wagers so far. That's more than the Super Bowl, Kentucky Derby, NBA Finals, and Mayweather-McGregor put together. And the bet activity is going to increase in the days to come. So I wanted to say that now so we can watch it tomorrow as well. All right. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad. That was the news with Gina Grad.